we're diving into the world of Australian Rugby League.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, and specifically, we're going to be looking at this guy, Reece Walsh. I mean, have you ever heard of him?
Reece Walsh, the name rings a bell, but I can't say I'm super familiar with rugby league in general.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not exactly a mainstream sport.
I'm in. So what's the mission here? What are we trying to understand about this guy?
Basically, we want to get a feel for what makes Reece Walsh such a captivating player, even if you've never seen a rugby league game in your life. It's like a crash course in why he's such a big deal down under.
Okay. I'm ready to be captivated. Where do we start?
So the first thing to remember is, like I said, most Americans have probably never even seen a rugby league game.
Right.
So, if you just stumble across it on TV or something, you're probably going to be like, wait, what is going on?
Yeah, totally. Like, what are the rules? What are they doing?
Exactly. But our sources suggest that even with all that confusion, there's something about the speed and the physicality of rugby league that just grabs your attention.
Okay, so even if you don't understand it, it's still exciting to watch.
Right. It's nonstop action. And the hits, man, there's something else.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I guess that makes sense, right? It's so different from American football.
Totally different.
Yeah.
In American football, you have those distinct plays, and then it stops, and everyone sets up again. But rugby league, it just keeps going. The flow is way more continuous.
I see. So it's like a constant back and forth, no time to catch your breath.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings us to what makes Reece Walsh so special. He's got this incredible speed and agility.
Oh, so he's one of those players that's just lightning fast.
Lightning fast is an understatement. Both the Fox League commentators and this analysis we have on American reactions, they all agree. His speed is what sets him apart.
Okay, so he's got to be pretty quick if everyone's saying that.
The Fox League commentators, they're just blown away by him. They say things like, never seen anyone as quick over 10 or 20 meters.
Wow, that's serious speed.
Right. And it's not just straight line speed either. They talk about how he can burn you, but then also cut you in half with the cesp.
Cesp, what's that? Some rugby term.
Yeah, it's like their slang for this sudden change of direction, where he just completely throws off the defenders.
Oh, okay. So imagine like a running back in football making a crazy juke move.
Exactly. And he does it at full speed. The commentators even say he makes other fast players not look so fast.
Wow. So he's basically operating on a different level of speed.
Seriously. And, for an American audience, that kind of athleticism is something we can all appreciate, right? We love speed in our sports.
Yeah, for sure. Think about those breakaway runs in football or a basketball player blowing past everyone for a dunk.
Right. It's exhilarating. And Reece Walsh seems to have that same kind of game-breaking speed, but in rugby league.
Which I bet leads to some interesting comparisons. I mean, when Americans see something new, they always try to relate it back to something they know.
Oh, absolutely. And the analysis we have actually mentions this. It says that Americans will instinctively try to find a familiar reference point for Reece Walsh.
And what do they come up with? Who's the American equivalent?
Get this, they compare him to Tyreek Hill.
Oh, wow. Tyreek Hill, the NFL wide receiver, known for his crazy speed.
That's the one. I mean, can you think of a better comparison for an American audience?
Not really. You hear Tyreek Hill and you instantly understand the kind of player we're talking about, even if you don't know anything about rugby league.
Yeah, it immediately gives you a sense of just how electrifying Reece Walsh must be on the field.
Exactly. It's like a shortcut to understanding his impact.
And speaking of impact, what's really cool? Our source mentions that Reece Walsh highlight reels are all over YouTube and TikTok.
Makes sense. That kind of athleticism is made for highlight reels.
Right, and apparently the reaction from American viewers is just like pure amazement. They're blown away by his skills and athleticism.
Well, yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be? You don't need to understand all the rules of a sport to appreciate someone doing something truly incredible.
It's like those moments transcend this specific sport, right?
Totally. It's that pure, visceral reaction of like, wow, did you see that?
Exactly. You see him dodging defenders, scoring tries, even doing backflips, and you just can't help but be impressed. And it's not just the athleticism. There's also this cultural element that I think would fascinate American viewers.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, our source talks about the popularity of rugby league in Australia and the passionate fan culture that surrounds players like Reece Walsh.
I see. So it's like getting a glimpse into a whole different sporting world.
Exactly. Think about how we have those die-hard fans for football, basketball, baseball, right? Now imagine that same level of intensity, but for rugby league.
Yeah, and probably even more so considering it's not as global as some other sports.
Right. It's like their national sport,
Yeah.
you know? And the Fox League video, it really gives you a taste of what makes Walsh such a star.
Okay, so what kind of amazing plays are we talking about here?
Well, there's this one play where he takes a Cameron Munster kick on the full, which means he catches it before it bounces.
Oh, wow. So he's got great hands
Right.
too.
Yeah, and then he immediately sets up a try. It's just this incredible display of skill and awareness.
That's impressive. And the commentators, I bet they're going wild at this point.
Oh, absolutely. They're like losing their minds over his kick returns, saying he makes everyone else look slow.
So it's not just speed, it's his vision, his timing, the way he anticipates the play.
Yeah, it's like he's always one step ahead. And then, man, you get to see the backflip he does after scoring under the posts.
A backflip. Really? Talk about showmanship.
The commentator's like, perfect landing. It's a 10 out of 10. I mean, it's pure entertainment. And it's moments like that that make him such a captivating figure, you know?
Yeah, those are the things people remember, the stories they tell. It adds to the legend.
Exactly. And there's this other moment in the semifinal against the Warriors. Broncos are losing, and it's a really tense moment. But then, bam, Walsh just zooms up. And the best part is you hear it from the opposing players, too. One of them says, they put 50 on us last year, and a lot of it was on the back of him.
Wow. So even his opponents recognize his talent.
Exactly. When other teams are specifically game planning to stop one player, you know he's a serious threat.
Absolutely. So based on everything we've discussed, what do you think? How would an American audience react to Reece Walsh?
Well, our source sums it up perfectly. They say it would be a mix of initial curiosity, admiration for his athletic abilities, and interest in the cultural context of rugby league in Australia.
That makes a lot of sense. The athleticism alone is enough to draw people in, but then you add that layer of cultural intrigue and it becomes even more fascinating.
Yeah, it's like a window into a whole other world of sports. So to sum it all up, Reece Walsh is this incredibly talented rugby league player who's got speed, agility, and a knack for making those jaw-dropping plays.
And even though most Americans might not know anything about rugby league, his talent and exciting playing style would definitely translate, you know. It's something anyone can appreciate.
Exactly. And the cultural aspect, that just adds another layer to the whole story. But here's something to think about. If Reece Walsh and the world of Australian rugby league can capture our attention, what other international sports and their unique cultures might be out there just waiting to be discovered?
That's a great question. It really makes you wonder what other hidden gems are out there in the world of sports.
Right. There's a whole world of amazing athleticism and competition beyond our usual horizons, just waiting to be explored.
I like that. So keep an open mind, and you might be surprised by what you find.
Couldn't have said it better myself.